instead of me silently playing through the game, I'm going to play through the game and explain the reason I'm not playing Misery. As any of you who follow Call of Pripyat mods would know, Misery recently released, I believe it was this week or last week, and there's been quite a big fuss over it because it was a considerably large undertaking, apparently, and yes, a lot of people have been playing it. I did try it, did download it, and as you can see, I'm still playing SWAT mod, so suffice to say I wasn't really hooked by it. There's a couple of reasons why I'm playing SWAT mod instead of Misery. The first one was, as soon as I loaded up Misery, I was confronted with an interface that was pretty much just grunge brushes and Photoshop the game, and a brown overlay over the whole thing. Anyone who knows me, especially from online forums about gaming, will know that I am a very strong opponent of putting brown over everything. That on its own wasn't really enough to get me to stop playing. What really put the final nail in the coffin, I think, was just the rarity of bullets in the mod, which, as you may know, was touted as one of the features. It was intended to make the game more difficult, and while I can see how making bullets rarer would make the game more difficult, it also seems like a bit of an easy way out to me, honestly, because rather than making the AI more effective, or, you know, the player have a harder time staying alive, all you're doing is really restricting their ability to kill things. In SWAT's mod, it's obviously all about getting past around. It's still quite difficult because you have to contend with intelligent AI, and as I'm playing on Master, I also don't take many bullets to kill. You're going to have to forgive me if I lose my train of thought. I've been up all night again because I'm an idiot. Wouldn't recommend doing this for how many nights I've done it in a row, but whatever. It's the holidays, I don't give a shit. I'm probably also going to be wandering around rather aimlessly because I have thought about anything meaningful and playing games at the same time, as I'm sure many of my friends could probably confirm. At any rate, we'll see how long I can make it through the game before I get killed by something. Probably not long. So yeah, I didn't play Misery for very long. I only had it installed for perhaps 10 minutes before I went and uninstalled it and reinstalled this. To be fair, I probably didn't give it enough time to pass any definitive judgment on it. Really, I guess I'd have to have played it for like half an hour at the very least. But, as they say, first impressions are everything, and it did not leave much of a first impression on me. So, obviously they've done something right, because while I'm quick to call gamers easily swoon by fancy graphical tricks and so on and so forth, to have that many people say it's a good mod. Okay. Well, anyway, to have that many people say it's such a good mod and come so vehemently to its defense, obviously something was done right somewhere in the mod. I probably didn't see it. May have come later in gameplay. Who knows? Not me. Probably won't find out unless one of my friends tells me. So fair enough. If one of you happens to have an opinion on what it is, feel free to leave it in the comments. Always up for discussion. In the meantime, I haven't really got much more to say about Misery since, as I said, I did not play it much, so I will instead talk about why I like SWAT mod. Now, for those of you who don't know, SWAT is a goon who made a mod for Call of Pripyat, and instead of going the way of some mods and trying to overhaul every little thing, he's made a lot of... Why won't this guy die? A lot of... I don't know about minor, but necessary changes. He's added in a couple of new weapons, changed models for some of the existing ones, and he's planning to revise the models completely because, as we all know, the default Stalker weapon models aren't the crash hottest things going. But he's done it without messing up the weapon balance, which is a big thing. Now, I'm usually a person who tends towards realistic games, as you may have noticed. I play a lot of Red Orchestra, or played, rather. So, being able to hit things from, you know, the kind of distance I would expect to hit something, and seeing it drop in one hit doesn't really bother me most of the time. On the other hand, one of my friends, who usually calls me an idiot for not minding that in games, says that Stalker weapons were inaccurate for a reason. If they're too accurate, it makes the game too easy. It totally removes any sort of tension and stress in firefights, because you can just wait for the bandits or whatever to side strafe, use your words, side strafe out of cover and then just, pop them off with 1 or 2 well-aimed shots. And I honestly agree with him. In Stalker, you don't want accuracy. You want accuracy that isn't going to frustrate the player, so you want their weapons to hit when they would expect them to, and I'm expecting to get ambushed here in a second. But you don't want their weapons to hit at any range, no matter what. You want there to be that element of not randomness, but the element of everything not always going to plan. And this mod has that. What this mod also has is weapons that aren't overpowered, weapons that aren't underpowered. Oh shit. If you're listening to this with speakers, you may want to turn the volume down or get headphones if you don't want there to be any swearing, because, yeah, I don't think I need to explain that further. But at any rate, as you'll probably see once I start running into more enemies, the weapons are pretty fairly balanced. I don't take many hits to die because, as I said, I'm playing on Master difficulty and I don't have the best suit. Enemies, I'm using an AK, so they'll take a few, but oh, here we go. It's not looking. See, at this range, it's pretty easy to kill things because it's basically impossible to miss, but as you get further away, especially with the assault, that's not the right button, especially with the assault weapons, it does become considerably harder to hit things. From me to about that Stalker away, wouldn't really have much trouble. If I was standing up there somewhere and shooting towards him, I might expect 1 or 2 misses. So, it's well balanced. It's not frustrating, but it's not overpowered either, which is, the overpowered side of things is something I remember from when I used to run Super Mod Pack for Shadow of Chernobyl. The other thing is, the weapons he's added, there aren't very many of them. He's adding more. In fact, I believe he has plans to add a fair few more. At the moment, it's mostly stuff that has been made for Source games. So there was an SR3 which was made a year or 2 ago on CDG. There's an M14 for the mercenaries, since they use mostly Western weapons. There's things like that. PP19, I think? Vichas, not sure what the number for it is. That thing. You also notice my AK has a 1P29 scope, which I'm so happy I have. One of my favourite optics to mount on a Russian rifle. The reason being it's basically a copy of the Trilux, which is a very good sight. So, it adds not a huge amount of stuff yet, but the things it adds make sense and have some application in the game world. For instance, this is better for fast target acquisition than the PSO because you've got that very bold, obvious obelisk sort of post reticle thing. Sorry, like I said, I'm kind of tired. My words are not good. Anyway, I'm up to the stage in the game where I need to go check out Jupiter, so I figured I may as well record this while doing so, so there is at least some semblance of action or tension or something. I have a habit of going around and killing absolutely everything I discover in the game, so when I come back later it doesn't make very interesting gameplay videos, especially not in this where enemies don't respawn as often. As you can see, I also have an APS, a Stechkin automatic pistol, which is actually quite a nice addition to the game, especially when you are, as you see at the moment, using your anomaly detector. The reason being, there's the LR300. The reason being that, if you just had your Makarov out, you would be pretty easy meat for anything with a gun that turned up. Whereas with a Stechkin, you have a fully automatic pistol that can actually do a decent amount of damage at close range. It's actually quite accurate too. So, not only does it add new rifles, new shotguns, stuff like that, it adds pistols that are worth using. And they are commonly used by lower level bandits too, so you have to watch out. I'm trying not to get myself killed by an anomaly here, because that would be rather embarrassing. As a frame of reference, I haven't played Call of Pripyat properly for about 2 years now, I believe. No, No, sorry, 1 year. I had some sort of bizarre PC issue, or rather game issue, where first Clear Sky, which I was in the middle of playing through for the first time, and then this, and then about a week later, Shadow of Chernobyl, they all stopped working. Couldn't figure out what it was, tried everything except reinstalling Windows because I'm lazy, and no dice. Since then, I had a major PC dilemma, or disaster rather, and I had to reinstall Windows anyway, which appears to have remedied Call of Pripyat, but I still can't get Shadow of Chernobyl to work. Excuse me while I run into walls and generally do nothing useful. I forget what all the stashes in here are. But if you're wondering why I'm playing a bit like a new player when I've had the game for quite some time, that would be it. Anyway, oh yes, let me tell you a story. Let me tell you. The mercs normally ambush you. Oh yeah, spoilers, obviously. Mercs normally ambush you when you get to this stage of the game after retrieving documents. Now, in the vanilla game, you would be in quite a hot bit of water because there's something like 6 mercs come up here. And they're all quite well armed and well armoured. Usually by this point in the game you start to have access to better stuff, but you know, it's still quite a difficult task trying to clear out that many mercs from a narrow hallway. Now, I don't know if it's something Schwarzmod did to the AI, or if it's just a funky thing that Stalker's done itself, and as we all know, Stalker likes to do bizarre things just on a whim. But about half of the squad came up without weapons and started trying to punch me to death. Literally just, you know, right hook to the face, right hook to the face, right hook to the face. And I almost died because I was laughing so hard I couldn't fight back. Dogs. Might actually switch to Stechkin so you can see how effective that is. I'm not actually sure how this is going to look when I render the video because I'm playing it considerably less than my usual resolution. I don't want to mess with my settings too much, so I just lowered the resolution and left everything else the same. So the game is still pretty, it just be slightly smaller res. It should look okay, I would imagine. I'll just downscale the video as per normal. But yeah, if it looks all wonky or anything, that's why. Jupiter is one of my favourite areas in the game, just by virtue of being, you know, the abandoned sort of industrial facility to handle abandoned industrial facilities. Lots to explore. I kind of wish that more enemies would spawn here and came back later in the game. Like squads of mercs or something making this into a camp would be incredible. But I guess dogs will do. You may also notice that compared to my other videos, my Shadow of Chernobyl ones especially, I am completely oblivious. I'm not really paying attention to where I'm going, and if I was to get ambushed right now, I'd probably die. Again, that's a function of me trying to talk at the same time. I can't do 2 things at once. I struggle enough with one thing. It's a fucking big file. Anyway, on we go. If I remember correctly, there's some snorks in here somewhere, which could be an issue since Call of Pripyat snorks are quite strong comparatively, and I don't have a fucking shotgun. Because in all my wisdom, I almost never use a shotgun in any of the Stalker games unless it's the only thing I have. Don't ask why, I'm just a rifle guy. Always have been, probably always will be. And I have a nagging feeling I've walked straight past an entire section of the building I should have gone to. In fact, I'm pretty sure I have. This is what sleep deprivation does, kids. It's the creepy shadows, I don't know. Yep, walked straight into the factory and missed about half of the place I should be going.